Hi, my name is Jessica Smith, former Australian Paralympic swimmer, and I work in the space of disability, accessibility and advocacy.
Hi, my name is Carly Beattie. I'm a 3-time Paralympian.
Hi, I'm Madeline Stewart. I'm a stand-up comedian, disability advocate, and I dabble in filmmaking.
I was born in Australia missing my left arm, and at the time there wasn't a lot of information around why that occurred. And so I think that I was always on this journey of trying to understand my identity and my place in the world. And sport and physical movement gave me an opportunity to prove to the world that I wasn't going to be limited or put in a box or labeled because of the way that I looked. And I fell in love with the sport of swimming. I think it was this sense of being free in the water, metaphorically and literally. And I first competed for Australia at the age of 13. For me, it was a love of wanting to prove that I was capable beyond what society was telling me they thought I could do or thought I could achieve.
Yeah, sport was always a really big part of my life, whether it was hockey, netball, or athletics, or playing cricket in the backyard with my brothers. It really had a lot to do with me as a person and what made me a person. Because, growing up with a disability, I was always trying, for me, physically, how do I overcome some of the challenges? And, sport provided a bit of an avenue for me to be able to show myself and show others that I was physically capable of doing what others could do. And not only did it, like I love doing it, I excelled in sport.
My friends are proper filmmakers. They run this company called Story Mill. They did all the filming and I did all the writing and performing and hosting of this mockumentary where I try to be the most inspirational person in the world.
Paralympian.
A Paralympian, but the thing is, I'm really bad at sport. So what happens when you're bad at sport? It ruins your life, apparently. But yeah, that's okay. I was a bit of a story of self-discovery and maybe a bit of an investigation on what inspiration porn is and how it actually affects everyday disabled people. Inspiration porn is a term coined by Stella Young. It comes from this idea that we've been told a lie. Society has been told that being disabled or having a disability is bad, that it's a bad thing, that if you're living with disability, you are exceptional just for being alive, just for navigating the world with your disability is exceptional. This is a lie. We are not exceptional because we have a disability. Disability is not a bad thing. I think she uses the term porn specifically because it objectifies one group of people to benefit another group of people. And in this scenario, it's objectifying disabled people to make non-disabled people feel like I can achieve anything because at least I'm not disabled.
It's usually pictures of someone with a disability, and I've shared this in some of the talks that I've given, and it's also, reference to Stella and other disability advocates where, the only disability is a bad attitude. It might sound positive, but it puts, again, so much pressure on a person with a disability. Well, just think positive and it's got to be okay.
I've seen this, what's your excuse? And there's a person with a disability. It objectifies that person, but that person's not even acknowledged either. Like, you don't even know what their backstory is.
It's looking at a person with disability and making the assumptions about their life and what they can and can't do, and then turning that back inward to then make yourself feel better or motivate yourself or inspire yourself. Especially when we're talking about the Paralympic Games, it sort of takes a focus on the elite athleticism of these incredible para-athletes, and again turns it back around to the person who is viewing or watching and looking and observing and thinking, wow, they're amazing even though they live with disability, and if they can do it then surely I can. And it's kind of it's off-putting in many ways because really that's not at all what any person with disability is wanting somebody else to to consider or to look at or to feel when someone is looking at them.
It's like, well, hang on, like, why would you be, you're using that person with a, you're using that photo of that person with a disability. That doesn't sit well with me.
That's when inspiration porn becomes problematic and can really affect the mental health and the individuality of us as community, as people. You know, there is a worthlessness that comes with inspiration porn. When you're a person with disability, you either feel like you need to be an object of inspiration and be like achieving wonderful, great things, like being the best of the best, top of your game, in order to be worthy, to live, to be part of society, to be, you know, a valid and important individual. Or you've got to be an object of pity. You can't be just a normal person. And that's the problem with inspiration porn.
It's not easy. Competition is not easy. Being an elite athlete with disability, it's just like being an elite able-bodied athlete. You know, we train just as much. We compete as much as they do. We come across a lot of the same challenges as they do. But yeah, it's a little bit different, you know, like it depends on the level of impairment that you have, because an athlete that has a higher impairment might not be able to train 6 days a week like their able-bodied counterpart, you know, but they train to their capability, but that is considered elite because they're elite in their classification, you know, they're out there winning medals.
What I really learned while making this doco is that Paralympians are genuinely talented athletes. So much preparation, so much training goes into their regime. And I just couldn't cut it. Like, I don't have the stamina, I don't have the drive, or just the sheer skill. It's incredible, not because they're disabled, but any athlete that has that drive is wonderful. So when I watch the Paralympics, I guess it's like how non-disabled people watch the Olympics. I'm just watching these like amazing human beings push their body to the extreme, and I'm just like, I couldn't train for hours like they do every day. I couldn't care if they're disabled or not. I just think, yeah, athletes have something else going on.
It can get very murky, but I think you've articulated it really well. It's celebrating the achievements of people with disability and what they've been able to do, not necessarily in spite of their disability, because I think that's where the lines get a bit blurred. It's not saying that you're amazing because you have a disability and amazing that you've been able to achieve something because you have this extra challenge. It's just being able to celebrate the achievements of human beings. I think that it can be a very complex conversation to have because it depends on our own biases and the stereotypes that we all grow up with and live with, and how we view disability from a social context. We have seen a huge social transformation. You know, I think back to when I was competing in 2004, our events weren't televised, there wasn't sponsorship, there wasn't as much positive attention. And so I think it's gone, you know, together with sport and with this social perception and change and how these conversations are happening, that has allowed for us to be where we are today, where we are talking about it and where we are celebrating those achievements. Attitudes
really are changing. Like, we can see that, but there's still a long way to go. And, you know, that people using and sharing those inspirational porn images and things, you know, kind of sets us backwards a little bit.
I think the line between inspiration porn and genuinely uplifting and sharing success of disabled people can be a little bit blurry. It's all about the tone. Would you present this information the same way if they were non-disabled? We want to make sure we present the information with dignity, with agency and respect, that no patronising music is being used, especially in the Paralympics. They're athletes. They are not objects of pity. They are not objects of charity. They should not be objectified in any way. They are just wonderful athletes representing our country.